we just got back from Kentucky. It wasn't just back, but we got back from Kentucky from last weekend, and we're still alive. Maybe a little bit poorer, but richer in mind.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, it'd be a good opportunity for us to kind of reflect on our trip down there. What was good, what was disappointing, and what did we learn from it? So we're going to kind of go over all that. But we got Pop back. Yep, there's Pop, Nathan, myself, and so we're ready to rock and roll. So we did a lot of visiting. We the first day was Friday. We hit up, we had New Riff, and then the second day we hit up on Old Forester and Heaven Hill, and then the third day. We made this a 4-day excursion, which is kind of probably overdid it a tad. I think I was tired, but
each day was also initiated with a trip to
Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, and that's given. Like you cannot not go to Buffalo Trace. Right. And then on day 3 we hit Jephthah, and then we went over to
Woodford Reserve.
That's right. Yes. We went over to Woodford Reserve, and then after Woodford Reserve we stopped over at Glens Creek, and then on the last day. We went to Willett. So we were all over the place.
Yeah, 7 stops.
Yeah. So we stopped at New Riff. That was our first stop. Well, we did some bourbon hunting, and when we stopped we did a little bit of bourbon hunting. The weekend started off pretty much with a wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Right.
We picked
because it's in the same lot as this mega superstore called the Party Source. Guess what they sell there? Alcohol.
Yep.
And it's like the Toys R Us for AA quitters.
So I walked away. Those are my 2 home runs for the whole weekend. I walked away with some good bourbon, but these 2. So one of you guys out there actually commented on this 2XO. I had been looking at it and I hadn't gotten my hands on it. Oh my!
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have a tasting of that, but anyway, so we stopped over there. I think you walked away with a couple of different.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, you brought it?
Yeah, I brought them.
Yeah.
So I bought a 13th Colony bourbon because there was a guy giving free tastings, and we had just walked out of New Riff, and I had already had a few there. Thankfully, I wasn't driving, but they influenced me against my will.
Yeah, right.
And I walked away with the bourbon.
He's got such a strong will.
Yeah. And what we found out this whole weekend was we have no will in our ability to, let's not buy that right now.
Right. Hence this other bottle.
Yeah.
Mellow corn, ladies and gentlemen.
He bought some bizarre shit.
And then I proceeded to piss everybody by getting this bottle.
Yeah.
And, I've never had mellow corn before. And it was actually cheaper there than I've seen it up here in Ohio, which was $17. And it was $8 cheaper at the Party Source than it was at the distillery of Heaven Hill, which was being sold for $25, which is a rip.
Yeah.
And it's mellow corn. You pay for what you're expecting, and what's the name of our channel?
I think you overpaid.
I can't believe he bought that dribble.
I will say, the way that you and John were talking, you were talking like it shouldn't even be sold for $5, and it's not great stuff. It's also not the worst stuff out there.
Which is
Let's get to New Riff. New Riff was, listen, one of our favorites.
Yeah.
It was nice to go there. We really enjoyed, to be honest with you, it was kind of a, okay, this is how you do your mash. Okay, we've been through all of that.
It was sort of routine.
It was kind of a routine thing. And then we got to the tasting, and we had a bunch of different tastings of the things that they had there.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
During the tour and after.
Yeah, which we're going to get on in a little bit, because I think this is really important when you do these tours. We had stuff that we tasted there that we can go to the store and buy right then and there, which I think is key, because you're tasting stuff. So we had it. We were at the bar, and the bar was really cool. I mean, they had all of their stuff. It was a row of stuff that I'm like, I didn't even know that they had these different,
Yeah.
and you can order from it. It was really cool. So Saturday we stopped over at Buffalo Trace. We all got Blanton's. I mean, and that's, we talked about Blanton's a lot on this show. We love Blanton's. It's not something that I'm gonna overpay for, but $60, $65 at Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
that's a winner. So after that, we went we went all the way over to Louisville, raced over there, and we got into Old Forester, which that's the one, we were really excited about. We amped up the visit because we wanted to try some of their higher end stuff.
We paid for the birthday bourbon tour.
We paid for the birthday bourbon tour, which is a little bit expensive, and granted, like we, had some of the birthday bourbon, had some of their cast strength.
The pointed side out of that, for me, that was the best drink. That was better than the birthday bourbon. Better than the 117 that we had. Better than the 1910 that we had in the tasting.
Yeah.
And we couldn't buy it.
Yeah.
And so that was.
I thought that was the big disappointment of the tour, of all of the weekend, is that in some places they had things on the tour and tastings, but they had stuff you couldn't buy.
Well, the rest of the tour was it was a good tour. Like, it's set up great because you walk into this dark room. He's got a TV screen. Talk, a little bit of discussion, then they play a video, and then he slides that down. It's a hideaway door. Slides it down, and there's a lighted limestone wall behind it with the open air vats. It was like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if this is how this starts, this is going to be great. And beyond that, it was just kind of like a little lazy discussion that left a little bit to wanting. And then we got to see they have a Cooper's in-house, so we got to see him put together a barrel and fire it up and everything. And that part was cool.
Yeah.
But again, it was kind of, we found he was a nice guy, the tour guide, but it was missing a little bit of excitement for the product.
Old Forester, listen, I love the bourbon, love their stuff.
Yep.
The little, now, so everyone else had big sips. I had a little sip. I had Maker's Mark sips, which are about half of that.
Double bourbon rocks, and spill a little in the glass.
From the birthday bourbon, and I was sitting there thinking, I paid all this money.
Right.
At least give me a ticket so I can. This small group of people that paid for this has the opportunity to go buy that bottle. We didn't have that opportunity, and I would have paid for it. I would have definitely. And so I was a little disappointed with that. And my sips were a little light. So I let it a little disingenuous about it.
Give an ounce pour of the birthday bourbon. Give an ounce pour of the single barrel, because you're still making out on that.
We did tastings at Buffalo Trace every day, and we had Blanton's every day in that tasting. So if we're talking about
no charge,
and we're talking and no charge, and if we're talking about allocation, the allocated of allocated, like for the common folk, it's Blanton's, right?
Right.
Yep.
And so Blanton's, I'm getting at at Buffalo Trace every day, and I can go buy that, but I can't go get the birthday bourbon.
Yeah.
So
and so I mean, and
so that was kind of that.
Yeah. Well, it is disappointing because you sit there and you pay all that money, and if you don't promote your product. I mean, you've got the anticipation of these people in this room that are sitting there trying this, of sitting there saying, hey, I can go downstairs and buy a bottle of this. And if you're giving them barely anything for a taste, they're going to be less willing to sit there and go down and buy that product if you're not talking about it in an excited way.
Right.
Because our tour guide actually poo-pooed the birthday bourbon.
He did. So I guess what I'm saying is the tour matters. And the tour is your sales point. And maybe we've been a little bit spoiled because we can go over to M&O and get treated like kings over there.
Right.
And we can go to Buffalo Trace and be treated like, welcoming guests. And I did not feel like that at Old Forester. I felt like I was kind of like, well, you should be glad you're here. After that, we went running down to Heaven Hill, which was another one that we were super excited about. Honestly, one of my favorites from Heaven Hill is their Bottle and Bond. That's what I was really looking forward to. So we did their Bottle and Bond tour. So everything that we tasted was a Bottled and Bond, and that was kind of unique.
It was a very Evan Williams kind of centric tour, I thought.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of irked us with Heaven Hills tour was the store.
The store was subpar.
They had only one Glencairn glass up for sale. They didn't have anything with Elijah Craig or stuff. They had all of their baseline bourbons like Larceny, Elijah Craig, Mellow Corn, all their other stuff. And they didn't have Larceny Barrel Proof. They didn't have Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Yeah.
On the tour, they didn't. Now that's because Elijah Craig doesn't have a bottled in bond, but there wasn't really anything else there
About
promoting Elijah Craig.
I think that's
Which
what
is-
kind of threw.
When you think about that,
that's their
bread and butter blend.
Yeah.
So
again, that was kind of. After that, we did some bourbon hunting.
Yeah.
This was a home run.
Yeah.
So we walked away, and all of us were able to get our hands on. We had to really, because Alex was going to buy something. There was something else I was going to buy. There was a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the reasons we did do the Heaven Hill tour was we were hoping to find McKenna there, and we could not.
On the shelf.
It was not on the shelf, and it was like. This is one of the ones, again, I get it. It's an allocation, at least where we are. Yeah. It's not easy to find. We go bourbon hunting, and at that store, which was not their main store, had 4 cases of it, and we walked.
We walked in, it was right there. We're
Yeah.
So
it was like their everyday bourbon.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, that was again kind of a little bit of a disappointment where again we did a bottle and bond tour and did not have any McKenna.
Right.
So then on Sunday, we went over to Buffalo Trace and hit Buffalo Trace up again, and
that was an Eagle Rare day.
That was an Eagle Rare day. Here's that picture of Eagle Rare, and man, I mean, you just can't. So we walked away with
Saturday we walked away with
Blanton's.
And Sunday we walked away with
Eagle Rare.
Had a pretty good day today.
But then we hightailed it over to Jeff the Creed and down in Shelbyville, Kentucky. Really fun distillery. Mom and daughter shop, grain to glass mostly, kind of operation. They use a lot of the corn that they use is their own red butcher's corn, or bloody butcher.
Bloody Butcher.
Yeah, Bloody Butcher.
And during the tour, one of the things that they said was, what we pour in the glass is their heirloom. And that kind of stuff. It goes in line with their creed, which is the Irish phrase "ne oublie," which translates to "don't forget where you came from." And I don't think they did. I mean, they're just a nice operation down there. We really enjoyed our time there.
And I ended up getting.
I wish I had bought some.
I ended up getting what they call their Bloody Butcher's Creed.
It's an in-store only purchase for them. So
It is.
And they have an entire history of why they call it Bloody Butchers, because it's the way the color of the corn and all sorts of stuff.
When they were breaking it down and get all over there.
But it was a neat.
90% Bloody Butcher's corn. This is 100 proof. I don't think it's a bottled and bond. It doesn't say that at all. But you can only get this at. And again, that's what I liked about them we have a tasting. Oh, I like that, and I can't get it anywhere else. Well, if I can get this somewhere else, why don't I get this now? Right? And that's
exactly
to me that was
it's a selling point.
It's part of the experience to me. So I wanted, and so they were. That's what I was really happy about them. Some people do not. I found out really quickly. Some people do not like Jeff the Creed at all. They were really. I put it on Facebook, and they were really trashing it. I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong. It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
That corn is unique.
I'm disappointed that I didn't get any of that or the other one because they're very nice.
It's good stuff.
But I decided I was out of bourbon buying mode.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
I was not.
That sounds like a you.
It does.
Yeah, that was
So after Jeff the Creek, we went over to
jumped up to Woodford Reserve.
Which was one we were really looking forward to. And again, here's nice tour. Love the grounds. We got here's some pictures and everything. The tasting was. Oh, and if I'm missing something, but the tasting was great because we were able to. Okay.
Yeah,
it's not your favorite, but like
I am not a Woodford Reserve fan outside of their double oak, and that's fine. We had 5 different tastes there, which were actually pretty decent sized tastes.
Yes.
And so I appreciate that. I don't like their stuff nearly as much.
But the double oak is spectacular.
The double oak it was great. For me, it was impacted by the previous 4 things we had, so it wasn't as good that time around for me.
Well, when I got to the 4th one, when I got to the double oak, I was like, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And we ran into a friend of ours, and she said, oh, I had some of their double oak. She paid $50 for a tasting of the double oak, and she was like, oh, you got to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do $50 for a drink right now, but you get your free clear, and I'm like, that's not free.
Right.
but nonetheless, like when we got to the double oak, I was like, man, that's really good.
Yeah.
Point being, again, of those 5, we can purchase all 5 of those in the shop.
Yeah.
Every single one of those we were able to purchase right then and there.
Yeah. And when we walked out of that tour, I thought the tour was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
The tour guide was fantastic. He really loves the bourbon.
Yeah.
Promoted it really well. I actually got me excited for the tasting. Okay, it didn't match up, but that's fine. The tour, the grounds reminded me a lot of Maker's Markets out there in some rolling hills, and you get just a nice
I agree with that.
look of their whole distillery. So it was really well done. We were really excited leaving there because it was a great experience.
Yeah, and their pot stills are those huge. They're
pictures.
Huge. Yeah, huge.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
that was neat.
Yeah. Then after that we hit Glen Creek.
Glens Creek, yeah.
And what's interesting is last year there's it's down this back end road, and there's a bunch of these mills, and it's right next to
the original Old Crow.
Yes,
and
that's right.
And it's
they're all broken down. They're like shack looking buildings.
correct. And then the road dead ends at Glens Creek. And then
we didn't go in last year.
and we did. We almost did.
Oh yeah,
We almost did, because we're like, oh, what's this? Glen Creek? I've never heard of that. And then we ended up getting a tasting there. And this was probably one of the most unique places, because we walk in, the owner and master distiller, David Meyer, was there. And we don't do a tour. He goes, you know what's going on. We sit down at the bar, and he pours his drinks and talks to us about his place.
Cool. Yeah. And he was a funny guy, really
dry sense of humor.
Very dry sense of humor, but we really enjoyed our time just sitting there listening to him talk. He's like a bartender.
It was unique.
Like a bartender, yeah.
So I ended up buying. Did you guys think anything there? Did you?
I did not. Oh. This was that was my favorite.
This was my favorite too. This is the Hamilton Dark. I'm tempted to not open it for a while. He ended up signing it, which is kind of cool. But this is it's 106.4 proof. But this I would say is kind of like a cask strength. Maybe it's not that, but it might be something to that extent. But so something completely different. Backwoods Kentucky. We didn't hear any banjos playing, so we were safe. So might as well get a chance to. And it was worth it. Okay, so now we get into our last day, and we went up to
Buffalo Trace, and it was Wednesday again.
Yeah, swing and a miss. So and you can only get it once every 6 months. So we
3.
They moved to 3 months.
It's always been 3.
No, it was 6 months last year.
I think it was 3 actually.
Yeah.
So we went. So after that Buffalo Trace, we raced over to Bardstown. We went completely opposite direction, but honestly, and to be very honest with you, I was about done. But I'm glad we didn't, because I'm glad we didn't go straight home, because we were able to walk away. And listen, Willet, I think they're underrated.
Yeah,
I'll say this: there were some things that over at Glens Creek, or over at Willet, where you go, that bottle just looks like it's a $10 bottle. Right?
Mm-hmm.
To be the presentation, it's just kind of, this is cheap stuff. And then you pour the juice. And then you go, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for me, Willet, again, it was cold. The presentation I thought was really great.
It was pretty good.
This was my favorite of the trip. And the reason was a couple things. One, I felt like it was about as close as, like, the reason I love Buffalo Trace is it's, hey, you're our guest, come on in. Here's a carpet. Here's a red carpet. Come on in. Yeah. Treat you like your family or that. But what I did like about it is, okay, here's your tastings, and you can buy every single one of those right there.
Yeah.
And that to me does make a big difference, because the reason you go for these, you go on these trips, one, to learn, but two, can I get some bourbons that I can't get back home?
And half of it is the style, because the style matches their
this is their
process.
Yeah, this is their pot. It's a replica of their pot still.
Yeah. Which was huge, and it was unique too, because they had all the
it was a pot still kind of merged with a column still.
It was,
yes,
which was kind of unique.
Yeah.
Because there was another place that had pot stills too.
Yeah, that was
Woodford Reserve,
and they did not have.
And they didn't have the.
Right. Okay, so what was your?
For me, I'm going to go with Jep's the Creed. I really enjoyed it, but their discussion about what they're doing, what their intent is with going from grain to glass.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Their quote nailed you.
A little bit of the history, that heirloom quote was phenomenal.
I agree with that.
Like the stuff that they're presenting on the bottle has a lot of meaning for me. Like the Trinity knot just hits home for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, there was a lot of stuff that really nailed me with it.
How about you? What was your favorite of all of them?
I would go with Willet.
You know, if you want to go on a trip and do that, you can easily do it on your own and plan it out yourself. You don't have to go through those companies to do it. We had a good time. Encourage you to do the same, because it's definitely worth the while.
Yeah, it's for all bourbon.
Hey, have a great one, guys. We'll see you later.